God made him who had no sin to be sin for us so that we might become the righteousness of God. The Word became flesh, and that means life came to die so that I could come alive. There's a story in John chapter 9 that I think sums up all this poetry really well. It's about a man who's been blind from birth, and so he's used to getting around in the dark. It's all he's ever known. But his problems run a whole lot deeper than blindness, because he lived at a time when any terminal disease was considered to be a curse from God, and so he was expelled from the temple because of his blindness. To be blind was to be cast out of the presence of God in the Hebrew community. It was to be excluded and ostracized. And that's why when Jesus' disciples ask him, who sinned, this man or his parents, that he was born blind, Jesus corrects the tragic misconception and heals the man of his blindness. But the way he does it is probably his strangest miracle. Jesus scoops up some dirt in his hands and spits in it, and then rubs it together and rubs it all over the man's eyes. And then through that, the man can see. What on earth is he doing? Well, in the Bible's opening chapter, all the way back in Genesis 1, God scoops up a pile of dust. He gets dirt in his hands, and he breathes life into it, and that's how he formed people. Human beings are distinct from everything else that God created in that he formed us out of the dirt and then filled our lungs with his breath. So why is Jesus spitting on dirt to heal a blind man's eyes? Well, this is just God up to his oldest trick again. He takes some dirt, puts his breath on it, and then makes something new. This is how he creates. He took a man whose life had been defined by the fallenness of this world, and then he redefined that man by the glory of God. Cue the very next scene. The blind man's in the temple, the place he's been banned from his whole life, and he's talking to the priest, the company he was excluded from until an hour ago. And they say, tell us who healed you. He claims to be God, but we know he's just a con man. Then we read this in John 9. We know this man is a sinner. That's the priest. The blind man replied, whether he's a sinner or not, I don't know. One thing I do know, I was blind, now I see. I don't know who he is to the whole world. All I know for sure right now is who he is to me, and that's healer. Jesus catches up with him again and says, do you believe in the Son of Man? Lord, I believe. Jesus calls himself Son of Man. Glory, identified as dirty. And then the blind man calls him Lord. Glory of God. Jesus calls himself dust so that a blind man can see, and in response, that blind man calls him glory. You see, church, Advent builds and builds and builds through the dark until we finally get to this, that we believe in the God who painted the first sunset over the horizon, becoming a carnal piece of flesh. We believe in the voice that spoke creation into existence, speaking with a rural Middle Eastern accent. We believe in the God who fashions people out of dirt, learning to make tables and getting splinters in his hands. We believe in the name that is above every name, taking a common human name, the name at which one day every knee will bow, being humble enough to be mocked on the lips of some and Lord in the mouths of others. We believe in the omnipotent power held back beyond human comprehension, so that he would love the likes of us enough to take our fate, win our victory, and then offer it all to us as a free gift. We believe that God made himself out of the dirt as an act of love, returned to the dirt as an act of love, and then rose from the dirt as an act of love. We believe in the Word made flesh, in dirty glory, in Jesus. At his funeral, Eugene Peterson's son said that his dad used to pray the same prayer over him every night when he was growing up. And that prayer was always this: God loves you. God is on your side. He is coming after you. He is relentless. That's who he is. That's who he is. Do you know him?